The first half of the gameplay you're watching will be solo Grandmaster content, and then the second half will be with a LFG team in the Grandmaster, just to show you how strong this gifted Prismatic Hunter can be. The best way I can describe this build is basically the Gyrfalcon playstyle, but instead of taking advantage of the volatile debuff, we're taking advantage of the Jolt debuff instead for the invisibility playstyle, but then adding so much more to the overall build. And what this does is allow you to stack so much damage resistance, so when you're going in and out of invis or dealing with something like an overload champion where you need continuous fire and you're out of that invis, you have enough damage resistance even in Grandmaster level content and even solo at that to be able to survive in those situations. And it gets even better with a team, as you'll see in the gameplay later on. You're going to be throwing out supers left and right while popping Transcendent over and over, and just sit back and watch the Jolt fireworks happen. It's also a very fun playstyle in my opinion, and it makes the Hunter feel quite unique with the Ascension ability aspect, and how we can take advantage of it even in the most difficult content. When you have something that is really fun to play and enjoyable, yet very strong, and can be played anywhere in the game, that's when you know you have a build worthy of taking up one of those 12 build slots on your Hunter. Now for your super, we do want to take the Stasis, Silence, and Squall. This has great crowd control, great AoE damage, is going to kill every red bar it sees, and it does okay damage against bosses, but we're taking it because we get it back so quickly, and because this is going to provide us with Frost Armor, another layer of damage reduction later on in the build. I like Threaded Spike as my melee ability here. It can hit 5 or 6 targets. We always have this up when we're Transcendent as well, and the main thing here is it severs enemies, which means it cuts their outgoing damage by 40%. Those champions or bosses in each of these rooms will do 40% less damage to you and your team because they are severed. And then we take Dustfield Grenade as well, partly to build that dark meter for our Transcendence form, but also because it's a great crowd control grenade, and it goes well with the overall build and what we're trying to accomplish. Now our first aspect is going to be Ascension. While you're in the air, you hit your air move button. That will consume your class ability energy to summon your Arc Staff, propelling yourself upward and creating a burst of energy around you that amplifies allies and jolts targets. So first off, it's going to make you amplified and your team members amplified. When we pair that with Galvanic Armor from the Artifact mod this season, that's a straight 30% damage reduction that you're going to receive, and if your teammates have it on, they're going to receive it as well. It's also going to jolt enemies around you, and you will even get kills with this on red bar enemies in Grandmaster content. It's not the hardest hitting ability, but it provides a lot for us and it's going to tie into our exotic. We also take Stylish Executioner. Again, any target we defeat with an elemental debuff will make us go invisible. This is great in harder content for survivability, and our melee, our grenade, our Transcendence melee and grenade, and our main debuff Jolt will all provide us with invisibility. So we're going to be going in and out of this all the time. Now the first fragment we're going to take is Facet of Solitude. I actually didn't have this one on in the gameplay, and I didn't get the run recorded where I did have this on, but it makes a huge difference in difficult content. Landing rapid precision hits amidst a severing blast from your target, while Transcendent, the severing blast is bigger. This was just really nice to be able to sever high health targets and make them do that 40% less damage. It's just a real quality of life fragment in harder content, and really good if you're running a pulse rifle in your primary for barrier champions. The next one we take is Facet of Ruin. Increase the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target. So our Dustfield Grenade is freezing and shattering, our Silence and Squall super is freezing and shattering, and our Transcendence Grenade is freezing and shattering. And then we also get increased area effect of solar ignitions, which our Transcendence Grenade is putting off those solar ignitions for us. The third fragment is Facet of Awakening. Rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage or super final blows generate an elemental pickup of the matching damage type. We get a nice 10 resilience here. We also did get 10 mobility with Facet of Ruin, which was nice as well, because mobility is great on a Hunter. But this is going to be a main way of creating Ionic Traces with all these kills we're getting with our Arc Weapon and with Jolt. Ionic Traces give about 15% ability energy to all 3 of your abilities, so it's just a great way to keep up our dodge and to keep up our grenade. For the fourth fragment, we take Facet of Protection. While surrounded by enemies, we're more resistant to incoming damage, and while we're Transcendent, this effect is increased. Another layer of damage reduction, and we pair that with Facet of Purpose. Picking up an Orb of Power is going to grant us Frost Armor because we're pairing this with Silence and Squall super. We already get amplified, so we don't need the Arc super for Galvanic Armor. You could take Woven Mail here with the Strand super, but Woven Mail only lasts 5 seconds, but it is a stronger damage reduction. But in Grandmaster difficulty, I do like Silence and Squall here, just for the added crowd control that it brings. Plus Frost Armor lasts 10 seconds, and it'll give a max of about 23% damage reduction when you're picking up Orbs of Power. Now for our exotic of choice, this is Gifted Conviction. It's a new exotic this season, and activating Ascension or Tempest Strike throws bouncing explosive at nearby targets that jolt and damage them. That first part isn't as important because the damage is just not that amazing. In easier content, it's great, it'll kill everything around you. But the main thing there is just those 3 bouncing projectiles will add more jolting to enemies out in front of you, along with the Ascension aspect ability already jolting targets right under you. But the second part here is where it gets really interesting. Jolting nearby targets grants you damage resistance. This can stack up to 4 times at a max of 50% damage reduction. And the cool thing here is that any jolt that we're applying can stack this for us. So even with Ascension, it doesn't have to be activated that way. It can just be from Volt Shot, which will then apply the Jolt debuff to an enemy, and that will stack damage resistance for us as well. So you easily have up either a 2 stack to a 4 stack of this pretty much all the time. That means you're getting anywhere from 30% damage reduction to 50%. When we do have the ×4, that's 50% damage reduction on top of your possible Frost Armor at 23% damage reduction, on top of your 100 Resilience at base is 30% damage reduction, and then Faceted Protection, which is 15% damage reduction when you're not even Transcendent when that's boosted. So I bet you if you do the math on that, probably getting roughly around 80% damage reduction when we get all this combined and going within the build. And that's what makes it so strong and allows for survivability, which means you just need to take good weapons that jolt targets. So for your weapon choice, just make sure you take a weapon that has Volt Shot on it and something that performs well in endgame content. My personal favorite, and I'm sure a lot of you will take, is the rocket sidearm called Indebted Kindness. You can pretty much one-shot any red bar enemy in Grandmaster content. You can easily proc Volt Shot, reload, hit your next target, and that's going to jolt. It's going to make you go invisible, it's going to damage everything around it, it's going to give you damage resistance from Gifted Conviction, and let you just go in and out of invis all the time. Also, it refills that light bar so fast for your Transcendence form. For mods on the build, on the helmet we take an Arc Siphon to make Orbs of Power on Arc double kills, and then a special ammo finder to keep up ammo in Indebted Kindness. On the gauntlets, we're going to take Firepower and Heavy Handed to make Orbs of Power with our melee and our grenade ability, including while we're in Transcendence, because that grenade will kill things. And then an Impact Induction, causing damage with a powered melee attack, reduces your grenade cooldown. On the chest piece, take 2 damage resistance mods, and then the third one I like to take is Arc Reserves there, just to play into having more ammo for Indebted Kindness and my Arc Heavy Thunderlord. On the boots, 2 Arc Weapon Surges, so we get a 17% damage buff to both those Arc weapons, and then a Recuperation, replenish 70 HP on Orb Pickup when we pick up an Orb of Power. On the class item, we're going to take Time Dilation to make those 2 armor charges last 15 seconds for a max of 30 seconds on that 17% damage boost. Powerful Attraction, so we automatically collect nearby Orbs of Power when we activate our class ability, and Special Finisher. Finishers generate special ammo for the whole fire team. Speaking of your class ability and the Ascension aspect, you don't always even have to use Ascension. You're going to have your resist ×4 up a lot from Volt Shot when you're in and out of close enemies. It's shooting them with Volt Shot and proccing the Jolt debuff. So if you want to just dodge near an enemy to get your threaded spike back and throw that out, that is perfectly fine as well. Ascension's kind of just there if for some reason you have no stacks of your resist coming from Gifted Conviction, then you just use it and instantly get 2 to 4 stacks and instantly apply Jolt to everything if you're just in a situation that you need that. If you're in a situation where you just need to use your dodge and to hit people with that threaded spike, then you can go that route. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys all in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.